Monday Night Raw starts off with CM Punk. He ends up cutting a promo. He ends up addressing his future in the WWE. And then he ends up pointing to a imaginary WrestleMania sign and says that that is his goal, alluding to his WrestleMania main event. Then he starts alluding to, the ways to get to that goal, the Royal Rumble. I don't think he mentioned the Elimination Chamber, but that's another way. Then he ends up mentioning a favor that he could possibly use to also get there as well. Then he ends up getting interrupted by Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins then comes out, ends up saying that when he said that he should have put an end to CM Punk the moment he first made his return. And then he ends up mentioning CM Punk helping Roman Reigns in War Games. And then basically he ends up saying that he wants to fight CM Punk. Punk responds back, ends up saying that, look, he's putting all of his personal issues aside. And then he ends up mentioning a few months ago that he had something he once wanted, but since he doesn't have that anymore, he doesn't care about him no more. Then he ends up saying that, look, you're not a part of my future. I know what is a part of my future, and it's not you. And he ends up saying that I don't think about you at all. I got things to do. I got business here, so stay out of my way. Seth Rollins responds back, ends up saying that this is a part of his business. And then they both end up brawling. They both brawl. They go back and forth. Seth and Sammy ends up breaking him up. Then Sammy ends up leaving with Punk. Jay ends up leaving with Punk. Sammy and Seth are in the ring. Seth gets on the microphone real quick, insults Jay. He ends up saying that he ends up telling him to go back to Roman Reigns. Sammy gets the microphone, ends up telling Sammy that he has no right to talk to Jey Uso that way. Then Seth and Sammy, they start going back and forth, cutting a promo. Seth ends up responding back, ends up saying, look, he understands why, Jey Uso is going back to Roman. But why are you? You're not family. You're not related to them. It doesn't make sense why you're, with the bloodline. Then he ends up mentioning their history, mentioning how they're, how long they've been friends and how they're also family as well. And then he ends up saying that Sammy betrayed him when he teamed up with CM Punk. Sammy responds back, ends up saying that he didn't ask Punk to, join him at War Games, but he was the only one willing to help. And he ends up mentioning that he asked Seth Rollins twice, but Seth Rollins declined because he was too stubborn. Stubborn. I don't know why I couldn't pronounce that word, but that is true. He did ask him twice. Then Seth ends up alluding to why he didn't help, mentioning Roman, mentioning he doesn't want him to get his power back. And then he ends up saying that, before he ends up, responding back, Sammy responds back, ends up saying that Seth Rollins isn't innocent at all because he's the one that created the monster we know Roman Reigns today. Seth responds back, ends up saying that, look, he understands that he had a big role in it, the chair shot and all of that. But he also said that he apologized for it and that he has moved on. But he also says that Sammy isn't innocent because he did the same thing, taking a chair shot to Roman Reigns, and he doesn't blame him for doing that. Then he ends up alluding to Roman Reigns not apologizing, saying that Roman is still the same old Roman and he hasn't changed, that he apologized to Sammy, that he apologized to Jay. He hasn't. Then Sammy responds back, gets a little frustrated, and he basically ends up wanting a match, which Seth Rollins accepts, which ends up being the main event. This was really good. This was a really, really good promo. Everything happened, well, not everything, but things happened the way I thought it would be, with Seth Rollins being angry at Punk for teaming with Roman. You got Punk trying to get his WrestleMania main event, which seems like the way they're going with the Seth and Rollins feud. Then you have the interjection of Sammy, Seth, Jey Uso. This is really good. This was a really good way to kick off Raw. Now we're in the month of December, building towards that Royal Rumble. Things are really about to pick up in WWE, man. But this is a really great opening segment. This was really good, and I enjoyed exactly what they heard. The story that they told was really great in this opening segment. Afterwards, we end up getting the Judgment Day. Get a quick segment with Finn Balor and the Judgment Day. Finn Balor basically did what he did last week, basically being very cocky, a little bit arrogant, and very condescending towards the rest of the group. Basically saying that they need to just listen to him. Good things happen when you listen to Finn Balor, and that the bad things that are happening in the group wouldn't happen if they just listen to him. And during this entire segment, you see Finn Balor and Liv Morgan. Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan both giving Finn Balor that look. They're both giving, I can't really describe the look, but it's kind of that look of like basically they're not really liking Finn Balor. You get what I'm saying? Each and every week they're less and less like enthused with Finn Balor. You know what I'm saying? I can't really describe disgust. That's the best way I can put it. They're more and more disgusted with Finn Balor each and every week. Then after this we this is very interesting. It is very obvious that it's going to be Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio who's are the ones that cost Finn Balor and JD their tag titles. I almost forgot because they never defend them. But it's going to be very obvious that they're the ones that are going to cost them the tag titles, leaving them to break up, which could be very interesting. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. After this, though, we end up getting Damage Control versus Liv Morgan and Raquel. They end up having a tag match to build up their feud. Liv and Raquel picks up the victory. I'm not going to really speak about the match because after the match is really important because that's what they're really building up towards. After the match, though, Liv and Raquel attack Damage Control. Then you get Rhea Ripley. She comes out. Everyone starts brawling, and it looked like Rhea Ripley was going to get the upper hand, but Raquel was able to get the upper advantage and end up pushing Raquel towards the table, making her hit her eye, and the heel stand tall, which was very shocking because the way they was booking it, I thought Rhea Ripley was going to dominate again. So, building up the Rhea Liv story, this is just a filler feud for Liv Morgan to get rid of Io Sky, and I hope they continue to do this. I hope they continue to just have them brawl or have them just have tag matches because we do not need promos. They don't need promo segments. If they do have a promo segment, it needs to be backstage, okay? And it needs to be manufactured. It needs to be like a vignette. Hopefully they just do stuff like that because we do not need an actual promo in the ring. But overall, decent segment, but we know where this is going, which is eventually Rhea versus Liv Morgan. After this, though, we get a segment with Finn Balor and Gunther. Finn Balor approaches Gunther. He basically wants a title shot because he helped him out twice and says that without me, you wouldn't be World Heavyweight Champion. Gunther ends up saying that, look, I didn't want your help. I didn't need your help. And I wanted to win cleanly because I needed that, he needed that conscience. He needed that motivation to see that if he could actually be Damien by himself and he doesn't appreciate Finn interrupting. Then Gunther ends up mentioning that Dominic beat Damian Priest cleanly. So he's the one that deserved the title shot. And he ends up giving him the title shot instead of Finn, which made Finn end up giving Dominic that look, teasing and furthering pushing, Finn and Dominic getting, closer to dissension of them not being friends anymore. So later in the show, it ended up being a world title match between Dominic and Gunther later in the show. Afterwards, we end up getting the first qualifying matches for the first tournament matches for the women IC title. Dakota Kai, Shayna Baszler versus Katana Chance. Dakota Kai picks up the victory. I'm not going to really speak about the match. I think the right winner won. The bracket is very interesting, but I feel like it's also predictable because I feel like the only logical person to actually go to the finals is Raquel and Lyra Valkyria, because everyone on the right side of the bracket, the only person I could really see is maybe Selena Vega. I know some people have been saying Natalya, but Natalya's a legend, yes, but she isn't like a big legend, if that makes sense. She's not like a Trish Stratus, a Lita, or Bayley type legend where she has impact, yes, but I feel like other women have more impact than her and get more credit for the way women's wrestling is now. So I don't think her impact and legacy is going to really draw her to be the first Intercontinental women's champion. I feel like it's either between Raquel and Lyra. I don't think Dakota Kai is going to make it. I know a lot of Dakota Kai fans are going to, but she's not making it. The only reason why is because she just got back from injury. I just don't think it would make sense. Especially with, I just don't think it makes sense. I know Kairi Sane's in it, but I don't think she's going to win it either. I think it's just going to be Lyra and Raquel. I think it makes the most sense, actually, especially with Lyra making it all the way in the finals to the Queen of the Ring tournament. They're clearly invested in her. And then Raquel, it's easy to put a title on her being in this Liv Morgan story. So I really just think it's going to be those two, but I could be wrong, but I'm interested to see how the Women Intercontinental Championship tournament plays out. Now we end up getting the New Day segment, the 10-year anniversary. This segment was amazing. The twists and turns that happened in this match, the emotional investment in this segment was great. It starts off with, Xavier, Kofi, thanking the crowd, being honored that, the success they had and all that, right? Then they both alluding to breaking up. They both allude to breaking up. Then Big E comes out. He comes out and he ends up trying to get the group back together. He ends up mentioning their bond, their history, the hardships they went through, everything they went through, the friendship they had, all of that, right? Cutting a very deep, passionate promo, mention how they're family, how close they are, all of that, right? Then he ends up saying that, look, since he isn't medically cleared, but he's going to be there every week as their managers to help them get back on the right track. Everyone's going crazy, everyone's excited, but then Xavier Woods shut that all down and ends up saying that, why is he now returning? Why is he now coming back? You had so much time, you've been out for years, why are you now coming back trying to help us? Kofi Kingston also questions the same thing and ends up saying that he understands the broken neck and all that, but you've been able to move and interact with us for a while now, so the broken neck isn't really an excuse. He ends up mentioning, other wrestlers who have had broken necks. He mentions Edge, mentions Stone Cold. They have broken necks, but they also came back as well. Xavier mentioned him having a torn Achilles, if I'm not mistaken. He said that he was able to come back for Big E. So he says that, why did it take you so long? And they feel betrayed, which does raise the question. That is an interesting question, because a broken neck, it can keep you out for a while, but after a certain point, Big E could have returned a lot sooner. So they do have a good point there. They end up, constantly, tearing down Big E. Ends up saying that he should have came back sooner, and that he basically betrayed them. And then Xavier Woods ends up saying that, look, we all know that you're never going to be cleared. You need to give it up, and that you need to go back to the desk where you belong. And they basically turn on Big E. It's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods turning heels, and Big E being the babyface, which is very interesting. If Big E ever becomes medically clear, this feud would cook even more if he ever comes back and able to wrestle, because he could take his revenge on Xavier and Kofi. But I like this angle, because most people thought that it was just going to be Xavier Woods turning on Kofi. But the fact that they're both turning heel is very interesting, bro. And I like it, bro. Now, in my opinion, I think it's very obvious that you kind of have to put the tag titles on them. I think there's no other option here, right? Like, I think you have to put the tag titles on them. I think there's no other way. There's no way you're going to have them both turn heel, and they're easily the most popular and the most over tag team. Yeah, the Judgment Day is not as over as the new. No, yeah, they're easily the most popular and the most over tag team on Raw, actually in the entire division, if I'm being honest. So yeah, you have to put the titles on them. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out. This is great. This was great. This was a good swerve, and it's also a swerve that made sense. Because I hate swerves for the sake of swerve. This swerve actually made sense, and this was really, really thought out. This was really good how they played this. But this was amazing, and I can't wait to see how they follow this up. After this, we end up getting the World Heavyweight Championship match between Dominic and Gunther. Gunther wins. Not going to speak about the match. After the match, though, you get Finn Balor. He attacks Gunther and ends up hitting like 3 to 4 coup de grace on him, building up, wanting him to get a title match. Then afterwards, he goes to Adam Pearce and requests his title match. Gunther wants the match as well. So this is going to be at Saturday Night Main Event. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. I feel like I know how this is going to play out, though, because Saturday Night Main Event is like in 2 weeks. It's because it's not like a traditional pay-per-view. I think it's like a TV. Yeah, so it's not like a traditional pay-per-view. So this is going to be very interesting. I think Damian Priest is going to interfere in this match, which I don't like. Because we just went through that with Finn Balor. But to be fair, if you want to protect Finn Balor, I guess, even though Finn Balor isn't that protected. So I guess. Also, I don't like it because there's a lot of Finn Balor fanboys who can't get over 2016 of him winning the Universal title. I get it. I understand. I understand you want to be a main event player, but he's just not that anymore. Just let it go. But yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested in the match, but I feel like I know how it's going to play out, unfortunately. After this, though, we end up getting Pete Dunne and R-Truth. And I knew exactly how this match was going to play out, and that's one of the reasons why I'm a bit upset. Why do we have R-Truth winning matches? Look, I get it. He's an incredibly over babyface. I understand it, but you couldn't just have Pete Dunne win this match, give him more heel heat. You could have just had him win the match, demolish R-Truth, give him more heel heat, boosting up his character. I don't understand why did R-Truth need to win, because R-Truth don't lose credibility if he loses, but he also doesn't gain credibility if he wins either. There was no reason for R-Truth to win. Also, you can't have Pete Dunne be this, I wouldn't say threat, but you can't have him be competing in 15 to 20 minute matches with Sheamus consistently and Trick Williams but he lose to R-Truth. Now, I know how he lost. He lost by getting distracted by fans, which was stupid. It would have made sense if he got distracted by commentary, because they was calling him Butch. That would have made more sense. But you made him get distracted by fans, and then I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand why R-Truth needed the victory. I get it was a good moment, but did we really need it, R-Truth, to pick up the victory? But nonetheless, I'm just gonna move on. Afterwards, we end up getting a segment where Jey Uso ends up getting attacked, which ends up leading into the main event. Jey Uso ends up randomly getting attacked, so it's a question who attacked him for the match. Sammy ends up, looking after Jey. They're asking who did it, and he thinks it's Seth Rollins. This leads into the main event between Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins. During the match, he was about to hit Seth Rollins with a chair, but Seth Rollins ends up calming him down, telling him that it wasn't him. But Seth Rollins ends up rolling him up, picking up the victory. Then it's still that looming question who attacked Jey Uso. Sammy gets up, and then he ends up getting Claymore by returning Drew McIntyre. This is very interesting. A lot of stories progress. A lot of questions needs to be answered. This was great. Got the question of who attacked Jey Uso. Now, a lot of people are going to go with Drew McIntyre, which is the most obvious answer, but I think that would be too easy, but it could just be Drew McIntyre. He has reasons to attack Jey Uso, so it's very interesting to see how this plays out. But the New Day storyline, Seth Rollins and Punk, that feud, this episode overall was one of the best. It's hard to say if it was the best because you still got the stuff with The Rock, the road to WrestleMania, but this episode was great. You guys let me know your opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.